Welcome back, Pirate Crew. It's your captain, Yeehaw Yadam, and we're back with another episode of 10-minute testing for the One Piece trading card game. In this series, we'll be showcasing a deck through competitive gameplay and analyzing its position in the upcoming meta. So get yourselves a drink, and we'll get straight into the card by card. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so for today's 10, 20, 30, however long minute video this is going to be, we're going to be testing out a very requested leader, Z. Now, Z is a leader that came out in OPO2 that shares the black and purple typing, which is really interesting, as opposed to Garp, who the cost reduction that black innately has doesn't technically synergize with the red aspect of the deck. The purple and black colors really do synergize quite nicely. Similar to how black would synergize really well with blue, the cost reduction that black brings allows us to knock out characters that would once in a smaller range with our characters much easier due to other reducing effects. So for those of you that don't know what Z does, let's get right to it. Z states, when attacking Dawn -4, knock out one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less, then this leader gains 1000 power. At first glance, that doesn't seem too great. A Dawn -4 effect is really heavy. As we've seen from Blue Crocodile, Dawn -4ing is something that you don't want to immediately use, because then you're going to be slow to the draw with the Dawn. And if you lose your Dawn, you're going to lose your power. So we immediately note that this is going to be a late game effect. So how do we make use of this late game effect? Well, let's get to the couple of the synergies that the deck really has. The number one synergy that the deck really has is with the 10-drop Kuzan. Now, 10-drop Kuzan is a fantastic card, really strong, that we see it played over and over in set 2 and set 3 of One Piece. Now, the Kuzan states, on your turn, when you play this card down, all of your opponent's characters lose 5 to their cost, which is pretty hefty, right? So if you're thinking about knocking out 3 costs or lower, now this extends the 3 cost all the way up to 8. So your leader is now knocking out 8 costs. It removes Odins and Kids and Doflamingos and almost anything from the board. Not only that, on play, when you play the Kuzan, you knock out a character of cost 0. So basically, if you have no other reducers on the board, this knocks out a 5-drop and then knock out an 8-drop, which is a very strong tempo turn. So what does Z really want to do, as that is their strongest play of the game? You kind of want to stall it out till you get to 10 Dawn. And I think this version of the list, or this list that I'm trying to create here, really embodies that exactly. So let's start off with our stalling options. First of all, we're playing one of the best purple 2Ks that we possibly can. A card that says, trash a card from your hand, add a Dawn from your Dawn deck. As this deck is trying to reach 10 as quickly as possible, ramp cards in terms of Thunder Bagua, Sasaki, yes, I was going to say Sakazuki, Sasaki, and Ulti really add to that bonus. Oftentimes, people will see a black leader, and again, if a leader has black in its typing, you know that they're going to be maxing out on all the good black admirals, such as Kuzan, Borzolino, and Sakazuki. If they're doing that, their curve is best on even, so they're going to want to go on evens. They're going to force you to go first. If you're forced to go first, well, guess what? We have Sasaki as well as Ulti and Thunder Baguas to really put us on the even curve. This should fix our curve going forward. If you're forced to go first, you pass on 1, Ulti on 2, and you have access to Sakazuki or Borzolino, keep up 2 for future turns. So definitely cards along these lines really help you not only deal with established boards or dealing with early game threats that Zoro and Law and whatever aggressive deck that you find yourself playing against can bring. You also have very good general good purple options in terms of Queen, as Queen will let you filter your deck looking for the Kuzans, looking for counters, looking for your very necessary good cards, and providing that 6k body that it needs. Funnily enough, if you don't see your cards that put you on evens, Queen will put you on even by itself. If you're made to go first, you go 1, 3, 5, you could Queen to go to 4, and then you're now on 6, which should fix your curve. It doesn't really put you that much behind what you really want to do. We also have Uda. Uda from the structure deck is just a very powerful card in general that allows us to deal with early board tempo. Same with Isuka. Isuka is Basil Hawkins at home. If you guys haven't read Isuka, when this character battles and knocks out one of your opponent's characters, to set this character as active. Now versus Zoro versus Law, they kind of have to think twice before turning their card sideways, because we do not mind attaching all of our Dawn to Isuka, keeping up 2 for a very defensive spell, and dealing with the board. Not only that, we have access to, again, the fantastic admirals that came from OPO2 in terms of Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Borzolino, as well as 10-drop Kuzan. We're going to go ahead and use the Sengoku 2-drop from the OPO2 set because it's a 3k body that comes down early. It's also a 2k and allows us to, again, reduce a character's cost by 2. So this can come out and defend us early while saving us in a pinch and using our leader ability if we really need to early on in the game. We're also coupling up our deck with a bunch of very powerful 2-cost event spells in terms of Thunder Bagua to ramp us even further, Hell's Judgment, and Impact Wave. Now, again, my thought process, or the way that I'm thinking of really playing this deck, is allowing myself to go down to 2 to make Thunder Bagua live. Similar to how Garp, I wanted to make Radical Beam live. With this deck, I want to make Bagua live and just ramp myself as much as possible, search for my Kuzan, play Kuzan, and then Zephyr take the wheel, baby. We're going to -4, -4, -4, -4 every single turn till we inevitably win the game. So without further ado, let's get right into those games. All right, so for our first game, we're going to be playing against the big bad Whitebeard. And Whitebeard makes some, he chooses to go second, which is horrible for us, but it is what it is. Our second turn looking mighty Zephyr-like in the, we'll just go attack for 6 and pass. He opts to counter here, which is a little bizarre, but this is exactly what we want. As a Whitebeard player, okay, so he has the Moby Dick, even less reason to counter, but I'll take it. I'm going to go ahead and use the Impact Wave to remove the Bartholomew, because I do expect him to just pass from here. If he's playing Moby Dick, then the probability of having low drops like that one is very, very low. So I'm just going to play Kuzan and swing once again. He guard points that, which is really bizarre. So he's like using his events, using his counters very aggressively. He must have a Whitebeard in hand in order to be doing this. So usually Whitebeard players will take every single hit, especially the Moby Dick players. But if they're defending, it must be because they're trying to get to something. And in my opinion, it has to be the Whitebeard. So he goes ahead and plays a Marco. Now, Marco doesn't really have a revive at this stage in time because of the fact that Marco needs to be at 2 life. Now he does have the revive. Not that I was going to knock it out this turn, but if I was trying to play like a Sakazuki or something, I would play the Sakazuki and then attack. He's going to go ahead and play a Jozu. This Jozu has come down maybe just a little too early, but I guess he's trying to put on the pressure. He's going to swing for 5. I just take this free block. Now, if he wants to put everything on the Newgate to go for the Borzolino, then that also would be okay. I'm going to go ahead and counter out of that. Goes back to my turn, so I just have to continue to play slow turns because my next turn is just Kuzan. I do not want to swing with my 4-drop Kuzan because my 4-drop Kuzan is going to allow me to be able to delete the 9-drop, but since he defended the Jozu, I'm going to swing just to give him less targets because of his Moby Dick. I'm going to play a Borzolino and pass. Borzolino is going to have to defend this Kuzan aggressively, so there he is, the man that we were expecting, the Whitebeard. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this hit, I believe, because we still have 2 life to work with, and we do have the out to this Whitebeard anyway, so we'll be absolutely fine for next turn. Kuzan's going to go ahead and attack. It's not going to be able to do anything because his leader is humongous, but he's going to reduce it by 4 and allow our Kuzan to go ahead and swing. I'm going to go ahead and attack, use the effect to remove the Marco. And I'm just going to pressure this Marco as much as I can. He goes ahead and pitches a Vista for it. I will attack with a Borzolino. Let's see if he tries to defend this Marco. I want him to give me another card. And he's thinking. This Marco, he pitches a Radical Beam. Just Radical Beams it up. So again, very, very good for us. He plays another Whitebeard. See where this Whitebeard goes. So he has an 8k attacker this turn and a 7k attacker. He's going to go with the Borzolino. Yep, I wasn't going to defend him anyways. You got me, buddy. So he's going to go ahead. I go back to 8. So it's going to be another good turn for us. This Kuzan is just putting in the Lord's work. Kuzan's going to go ahead and reduce the Whitebeard by 4. Putting him within range to go to 0, I will swing for 10. Maybe he takes this point of damage. Nope, he Radical Beams it out. And then I basically play an Uda, put 2 on my leader so I can go to the 8k threshold, use ability to knock out the Whitebeard, and then trigger the damage. He goes ahead and blocks with Marco, but he chooses not to revive it, which is not great. I think I understand why, because of the Uda's on board. The Uda's going to be able to take care of the Marco anyways, but still kind of weird. He has 5 cards in hand, and I've got a 10k on the board, so let's see how he goes ahead and gets out of this one. But he really doesn't have a lot of pressure. I still have a blocker. I have 2 up. I have a lot of things going for me. Goes ahead and plays the Ace. Now Ace is going to go ahead and minus 3k, what I'm assuming to be the Kuzan and the Borzolino. Then plays a Vista, and the Vista I think is targeting the Borzolino, but you can't Vista the Borzolino. Swings 8 at 7. Going to go ahead and combo out of that one, and he concedes. God bless. So we had like the optimal curve, and our opponent was playing not the best, but that's kind of what we need in order to beat the Whitebeard. So here's maybe a matchup that people are more excited about, the Kinemon versus Zephyr matchup, right? So Kinemon, expected to be one of the best decks in the format. And Z has a lot of great removal into their options. So I opt to go second here. Thank you, Lord, I didn't have to go first again. He goes ahead and plays a Bedge, and I just pass on 2. There's not really many plays again on the 2 that I can have unless I started to play like Don Quixote or Rosinante in my deck, but I don't think that's the way. He goes ahead and plays a Bonnie and goes ahead and searches off the Bonnie. I'm going to go ahead and take this hit. Gives me a Sakazuki. Ooh, that's going to come in handy. And I draw another Sakazuki. Not the best. And I think I'm going to play the Isuka. Now, Isuka's really good at cleaning up these little weenies. So I'm going to use the Isuka as my little janitor crew. It's going to go ahead and clean up all these cards from the board that I don't really need. My opponent does go all the way up to 5 Dawn. So with 5 Dawn, he can reduce, play a Yamato, reduce the Isuka, and then swing at the Isuka, which isn't great. But we'll see what they do. So my opponent's taking a long think here. Once again, ×4 speed, ladies and gentlemen. You'll love to see it. And speak of the devil, you got Yamato, and he's going to 5 the 4. 5 the 4 is just not enough. Unless he really... I don't know what he's going to do with these 2 Dawn. It has to be like double Beji or like Bonnie Beji. I don't know. Well, it is Bonnie Beji. Bonnie's going to go ahead and add a Beji. So he didn't even have that play, which is really weird. He could have just committed to killing the Asuka, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and 5k this Bonnie. See how my opponent wants to react to this one. He has no Dawn up, so I'm not afraid of the Punk Gibson. And he shouldn't really defend this because the Asuka just lets me do everything. The only issue by defending is the fact that you don't let me keep 2 up with my 4. So I can't really go like Kuzan, keep up the Hell's Judgment. But I don't think I'm going to be Hell's Judgmenting anytime soon. I also kind of want to play a Sakazuki. So if he blocks with the Beji here, I might just have to allow the Bonnie to stay another turn. And I opt not to. I opt to go Kuzan here. Okay, so I guess my initial reasoning is that he's going to 7 Dawn, right? If I do Sakazuki and I remove any of the cards from the board, or if I Asuka remove the Bonnie, and I don't develop, then he can just on-curve Odin me, and then I'm in a really bad spot. But if I allow him to get another search off of this Bonnie, then I think I'm a little bit more okay. I allow him to bottom deck a lot more cards. So he's going to go ahead and Yamato the Kuzan. And I do have to defend this Kuzan aggressively once again because I'm trying to beat the Odin. So I'm going to go ahead and Hell's Judgment here, making it so it's impossible for him to attack my Kuzan unless he wants to fully commit to it. So I'm very okay with this play. And then he goes Beji Beji. This man loves Beji, huh? I think that's all 4 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put a Dawn under the Isuka, swing at the Bonnie. He blocks. Basil Hawkins at home. I'm going to swing with my leader. He lets it go. And Sakazuki's going to go ahead and remove this Yamato by pitching another Sakazuki. I don't think I'm going to need 3 of them this game. I want to keep some sort of counter power in my hand. So my board's looking pretty solid. I do still have the Kuzan, so that if my opponent plays the Odin here, I do have the out to Odin, which is really, really nice. But instead he goes Killer, Raizo, and then swings at me for 6. I will not, I think I counter out of this 6, right? Counter what you can and don't counter what you can't. So I do allow the Yamato to go in. He leaves up 2 for what is possibly Punk Gibson. But we're going to have to go ahead and see. I'm going to attach a lot of Dawn here. Go 10 at 6 on this Yamato. Restand. I'm thinking how I want to do this. I swing here, and that was a huge mistake because I do get hit by the Punk Gibson. I made the correct play in putting a 4 Dawn on top of a card just so that I don't get Punk Gibson, and then I immediately played into it, which is not great. We'll go ahead and swing at this Yamato. Swing once again. And then I do want to keep, again, this Kuzan alive. So I'm just going to pass. And I know these turns look super duper weird. But it is what it is. I am at 9 Dawn here, so I don't mind using a Hell's Judgment if I need to. But this Asuka is kind of done as much as it needs. I know that next turn my Kuzan's going to come down and clear the board. So I don't really have to defend if I don't need to. He's going to go ahead and Momo's going to go ahead and add him a Paradise Waterfall, which I don't really think does much. I'll go ahead and use an Uda, which is not doing much in my hand at this point in time. And then he goes 6 at 5. Just going to use an event spell here. I don't want to get low again versus an Odin. He still has a ton of Dawn active. So, okay. Seems solid enough. I'm going to go ahead and swing at the Momo. And minus the Raizo. I'll swing at the Raizo. I think he blocks here. But 7 at 4. He still has 4 cards in hand. But I am at 10 Dawn, 2 life. So I basically just full clear here off of 1 10 drop. And then he's basically starved of all resources. The game should end pretty quickly after this. He hasn't seen an Odin, which is exactly what I'm talking about. If he does see Odin, this matchup becomes significantly more difficult, but I was always prepping for it. So I guess he Paradise Waterfalls plus a 2k. I 10 drop, remove Yamato. I go ahead and I use my character to swing at Raizo to knock out the Momo, and then he basically loses everything. He misclicks here and passes turn, but at 3 cards in hand, with me having 3 admirals on the board, I don't really think that it matters. I think my opponent quits after that, noticing that mistake. But yeah, that's kind of how you want to play the green matchup. Just stall them, trying to play around Odin as much as you can. But if they back-to-back Odin you, it just is what it is. Here's another matchup now versus the Law, and my classic pass on 1. They started with Nami into Nami, which is as good as it goes. The first Nami did whiff, the second Nami did add him the Brook. Or sorry, it added him the Monkey D. Luffy from the structure deck. An interesting card to be playing in Law. Not many people have opted to play that card. He Brooks to push for damage. I allow it to go through. I'll go 5 at face, and then I'll play Boars. Now, Borzolino, really good into Law. They don't really have a clean option to it. All of Law's removal requires a KO effect. So we're really solid here. So he swings, taps out for basically summoning the Luffy, and I get a free block here. I get to swing. And I really just have the God curve that I'm talking about. I have the 4-6. So this Sakazuki is going to go ahead and remove this. I take out a Hell's Judgment from my hand because I just don't see myself Dawn -1ing anytime soon. As well as the fact that I don't really have any Dawn up these next couple turns. He's going to go ahead Bonnie for the Law. Law's going to go ahead and shuffle to summon the Zoro, and then we're back into a tricky spot. So that is what goes down with the Law deck. They're a very tricky deck in general, but fortunately we do have just another Sakazuki. We're going to go ahead and remove the Law. 5 at lead, 7 at lead. We're just putting as much pressure as we can. He's already down to 2 life. Goes ahead and removes 1, removes the chopper, and it passes it right back to the Law player. This Zoro is a little spooky. So he goes Otama Jet Pistol, which I don't think is great. It's a 5 cost combo to remove a 7k. I'll take that any day of the week. He goes 7 with the Zoro. I will go ahead and take the damage. He goes ahead and shambles to play the structure deck Law to restand the Zoro. And it's not a lot of damage that he's presenting here. He just has leader, which I'll block with Borzolino, and he has another 7k swing, which if he chooses to take, I don't want to Dawn minus because I have this ability this turn. So I'm going to go ahead and use the ability of Kuzan to remove the structure deck. Then I'm going to use the leader to remove the Zoro, and then I'm just going to pressure it on him. He goes down to 0, and I have a Kuzan on board. Goes Nami. I think that Nami finds a Tony chopper. Goes Nami again. Finds a Zoro. And he bounces the Nami to play the Law to bounce the Bonnie to play the Zoro. He still has 5 Dawn available to him, and I mean, this is a very scary board. That's what's so scary. So he goes 10 at my 7. Just let it go through. That's not going to be my win condition anyways. I draw Dawn, and I play the Uda, put 1 on my leader, go swing, use ability, remove the Law, swing for 7, and I have 7-10 to finish the game. Alright, and then for a weird little matchup, we have a Magellan matchup. So I go second. I go second. He goes and puts all his Dawn, swings at me. Yep, not going to counter out of that one. I'll swing 5 at lead. And Kuzan pass. So my opponent goes up to 5, and here's Magellan. It's Magellaning time. Yeah, Magellan on curve is so disgusting. Because I was going to be able to Sakazuki this turn or like do another play, but I'm just like set back, and it just doesn't feel great. I'm going to go ahead and play the Uda and pass. I mean, not Uda, sorry, ulti. He's going to Magellan again. Oh, Lord. So we're getting double Magellan. So we're just losing turns back to back to back. He's going to 6. Going to probably take this one. Then he's going to probably go 7. I'm going to counter out of this one because I don't want to get too low. But it's not looking great for us. So we'll go all the way up to 7 Dawn. Basically stalled me. I should be at 10 Dawn already, I think, after the ulti. He's going to go ahead and remove that. And I'm going to lose some Dawn here. And then I will 6. He lets it go. I lose some more Dawn. So I do get board control, but I am at 2 life with 2 Dawn, which doesn't feel great. He's going to go hit me for 8. I have to take that one, and it passes it back to my turn. I'm at 4 Dawn and frustration. I click pass by mistake because I would have summoned a Borzolino here and then like pressured him. But I wanted to showcase this match more than anything of just how I would play against the Magellan. But yeah, that was an unfortunate misclick, which it looks planned because of the Thunder Bagua, but it certainly was not. Gonna swing at this one more time. I'll remove the 2. Again, I use my character cards first so that when I get the -2, I can just remove the cards I already played. And then swing at lead. He just has king into king. Now, if I had the Borzolino one turn earlier, this wouldn't be as bad, but I'm just getting pressured out of this game. I have him forced to Dawn -1 myself, which isn't great. He puts all the cards under his leader. I will go ahead and defend pitching the queen because I do not want to Dawn minus anymore. Gonna go ahead and attach Dawn, swing at the king. He has so many cards in hand that it's gonna be very difficult to clear these guys, and he's just so ahead on terms of Dawn that he can do more with his turns than I can. I basically got -10 total Dawn this game by Magellan. By the Magellan character card, which is, yeah, it's a lot of Dawn. He's going to go ahead and 7 my lead, and I'm deciding if I want to go ahead and take this or not. I do take it because I'm just not very heavy on counters. He's going to go ahead and pitch a card from my hand. I'm going to remove a 10-drop Kuzan, as I don't even think I'm going to get to 10 this game. I'm going to go ahead and remove 2. And then if it attaches all his Dawn, I can go ahead and defend it. I'm going to go ahead and just block with Borzolino and let it go. I don't really want to remove cards from my hand anymore, but he still has 4 Dawn available. And he keeps it up. Hell's Judgment would really just destroy me entirely. So I have to keep up no Dawn. I have no Hell's Judgment this turn, so I'm going to go 9. He does the HD, and then I can't remove any of the cards on his board. So I go Uda, keep up 2 just to scare him. But he just has too many characters on the board, and I've basically just lost the game. So we're back with the deck, and honestly, Zephyr played exactly how I thought it would. Even though we have this edgy purple-black combo, that we have these reduction where purple becomes the dunker to the black's layup, it doesn't always end up panning out that way because the layups really come from 2 specific cards. We don't have many cards in black in general that do create that layup. We only have Kuzan in this deck. We have specifically 10-drop and the 4-drop. Now the 10-drop is a fantastic card who he lays it up every single turn so that our leader Zephyr can just dunk the characters off the board. The issue is we gotta kind of get to 10 in a board state where we can use all our Dawn and not lose the game immediately after. It's very much like the Kaido issue that happened in set 1. If you can get Kaido all the way down to 0 life and before they can play the 10 cost, they can't play the 10 cost. If you can get them down to 1 life before they can play the 10 cost, it's very tough to play the 10 cost. So those are the same situations that you want to put with this leader, and the fact that you're a 4-lifer makes it all the easier to do. Couple that up with the fact that we're in a hyper aggressive format with red and green and law, all literally swinging 5-5-5-5-5, and we're kind of put in a situation for having a bad time. So the pros with the deck: it's good at what it does. The deck has a very simple game plan: get to 10, win the game. But what happens if we stray away from that game plan? Not great things happen. But in terms of a long tournament, you can definitely pilot Zephyr with a very specific, low energy, as in the later rounds, your deck will kind of take the wheel for you. You have very limited options, similar to Whitebeard. Whitebeard has very limited things that they can do per turn. 1 to 2 actions will basically constitute the entirety of your turn, as most of your big drops are 4 costs, 7, 10. So your turns are all very much planned. You always have to plan ahead with this deck. How will I do this turn? Will my Dawn minus this turn affect me on the following turn? Can I ramp this turn, or will that put me over the 10 limit? Am I forced to combo this? Am I forced to not combo this? There's a lot of questions that this deck really has, and it's not always easy to answer them. Other than that, I did think this deck was good for what it does. It is a deck that is pseudo control, and honestly, more often than not, I think the issues that I had with this deck were created by my own poor deck building choices. So let's start off with how I would change this list. Specifically this Sengoku. I crafted him, played him in the deck with the concept that I would be able to use it in a red matchup. Now the fact that Sengoku, even though he is a 2k, is not gonna be fantastic versus red. The fact that he's a 3k attack character makes it that he's very easily outed by cards like Vista, and honestly should just be Suru, where I can get the on-play effect immediately from her and also use her as a 2k. I never found myself wanting to play the Sengoku, and honestly Suru just fits the spot a little bit better. I also want to drop down on the amount of non-counter cards that I have in my deck by removing this king and 1 Kuzan and these impact waves. Now, impact wave is a strong counter card, but oftentimes if you're tapped out for your plays, because like I said, your plays are very, very costly, you're left with situations where even though you have 3 event spells in hand, you're stuck being unable to play them. I'd rather play the Bagua and the Hell's Judgment as they are just a slightly bit more impactful than the impact wave. Now look at that impact. So let's get to what I would change for that, and that would probably be maybe 2 kings. This card fights for board just a little bit better than the other king. The other king is only beneficial after you summon the 10-drop Kuzan, so I'm not an entire... I just don't think it's worth the investment. There's also cards to consider, such as Elephant's Marcho, or Marchu, Achu, Brachio Bomber, and even Lead Performer Disaster, which is a card that basically ramps us and draws us a card for the cost of 4. It doesn't really develop the board, but oftentimes we don't really have ways to develop it. But if we keep saturating our 4 drops, our deck is going to be a little too clunky. I do think cards like this Brachio Bomber will add a little bit more consistency, pseudo ramp to the deck, and just honestly outs a couple of pesky cards in the meta. You can honestly also remove this Sakazuki down to 3, and now we've honestly weakened our curve just a bit. But if we bring the curve down just a tad, we might be able to just get to that late game a little bit more like we've been wanting to. Let's see, we'll go back to the black character cards, and I think we can either add some Kobes in other forms of dunkers just to, again, allow us to get to that late game, allow us to deal with the board. And I think this deck might just be a little bit more clean at what this deck wants to do. At the end of the day, the deck really just wants to get to Kuzan, and we have to find ways to manipulate the meta, the format, the matchup that we're in to allow us to get there. And I think this version of the deck might just be a little bit better at doing so. So as always, guys, if you like this sort of content, please don't forget to leave a like down below. And if you have any suggestions for how I can make the Zephyr deck more enjoyable for myself or stronger in general, please leave a comment down below. All you Z enjoyers, mains, one tricks, whatever you want to call it, where you at? Let me see your opinions on my Z list. And as always, guys, if you haven't joined the Pirate Crew and are enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe for more One Piece TCG content, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.